Can wave hello to everyone on Travel Massive Live. And you guys are free to start talking.
Yeah. Well, good evening and welcome to Travel Massive London. Thank you, all of you, for joining us here tonight at the home of Rough Guides and Insight Guides. Do we have any Travel Massive first-timers in the room? Excellent. Live streaming aside, this is much smaller than our normal events, but I'm really excited to be able to host something quite so intimate. We're in for a real treat. Tonight we are going to be exploring how Rough Guides and Insight Guides are moving their dependency on book sales away and how they've become an online platform selling bespoke holidays. We're going to be exploring what it takes to pivot a business and the challenges connected with that. Today, many of the most successful businesses out there are very different from how they started out. They're very different from the vision that the founders initially had for them. One business that did a complete 180-degree turn, for example, was YouTube. YouTube started out as an online dating platform that pivoted when the founders realized that people were uploading videos of all sorts and actually very few online video dating profiles. But let's take the conversation back to the travel industry. It's a really interesting time in the travel publishing game. Very recently, Lonely Planet bought Arrival Guides, and last year Culture Trip raised an additional 80 million US in a Series B funding round. Then, of course, ABA Publications added Rough Guides to their stable to sit alongside Insight Guides, purchasing that brand from DK. Which brings us on to the next conversation. Can you please give a big, warm, Travel Massive welcome to the CEO of Rough Guides and Insight Guides, it's Rene Frey. One other person I'm really excited to be able to introduce to you tonight. We've grown up through the travel industry together. She's been named one of the industry's 30 under the age of 30 by TTG Media. She's a Senior Account Director at Flagship Consulting, and I'm also delighted to say that she's agreed to be my new chapter co-lead. It's Belinda. So, first question. The way we'll work this, I'll ask you a few initial questions, ask for Belinda, and then we're going to open it out to everyone here in the audience, and everyone who is watching from overseas as well. We've got people tuning in from about 3 or 4 different continents. So please leave your questions on the live stream, and they'll be directed to us. The person who will be directing those questions to us, we have another special guest in the room. It's the CEO and founder of Travel Massive, Ian Cumming. Hello. So, Rene, when was the moment when you went, yeah, I'm going to buy Rough Guides. This is it.
I don't have a particular day or minute. I could tell you more about when I decided to buy APA. We call it APA. It has a meaning. Rough Guides was an opportunity in my assessment in spring 2017. So I thought it's a great opportunity to do the same as we did with Insight Guides and repeat the story. So I called up the guy from DK and he said, yeah, why not? That was around May, June.
That sounds like a very easy acquisition.
Actually, it was because they were very happy to let it go. Yeah. If you imagine DK being part of a very large organization, Penguin Random House, belonging to Bertelsmann, 120,000 people worldwide, $50–60 billion revenue, and this small, tiny Rough Guides in there that nobody knew what to do with, was losing money every year, losing sales, losing people. So,
do you think that is in part a reflection of the state of the publishing industry?
No. I think it's possible to make money with guidebook publishing. We prove it every day.
Yeah.
When I acquired APA in 2014, it was a company, on the verge of cliff. It was down. The owners decided to liquidate the business because it was losing money for 5 years in a row since 2009, 10, and so on. But we turned it around. That's mostly Agnieszka, thank you. not me. We turned it around. We made it profitable.
So the publishing side as well.
The publishing side has a 20% EBIT margin, right? So we can be very proud of that. And that gives us the opportunity to invest in something new. And that was the reason why I acquired Insight. And that's the reason why I acquired Rough Guys.
Yeah. The plan then for the outset, as you were saying, was very much like Insight Guys, turn it into a platform that was providing those holidays.
Yeah, I mean, explaining simply what we are doing is, it was a long process to get there, but we decided to sell holiday packages, right? Not a single experience, not a hotel booking or not an affiliate deal, but what we do with books is we tell people how to have great vacations, and we do that since 50 years. So, and we know that people use, the buyers, you and others, hopefully, they use the books in order to plan a trip, right? So the initial thought process was, if people use this book for planning a trip, how can we make this process digital? How can we help them in a digital way to plan the trip and to have the best experience, right? And then we looked at the trends, and one big trend is local businesses, support local businesses. Another big trend is personalization, right? Individual trips, activities. So we came up with the concept of we are connecting users to local businesses in all destinations. It's about 70-something destinations today, to local tour operators that will enable them to offer a tailor-made service.
Yeah. I was reading one of your books at the weekend. One thing that I guess that struck me was, how do you continue to maintain that sense of strong independent advice and credibility that you're giving the best advice when you're also then trying to sell off the back of that advice as well?
I can show you the water bills. No, I mean, that's what we do since 50 years. That's our legacy, right? And that's something very important. Yeah, we have often people saying, I have this and this business, why don't you include me in my books? Or in your books, right? We don't do that, right? We also don't take paid things in our books. We really maintain the independence of the author, right? The authors are not given, not even for me, if I like something, I make a suggestion, but it doesn't often help. we are not really telling them what to do. We're telling them, give good advice. Yeah. Right? Make something that is worth the money we could pay you. Yeah.
So was that the plan from the very, very beginning, was changing it in that way as a business? Or was it something that evolved over time once you'd acquired?
No, actually, it's a long story. I don't know how much time we have. But the process was, since 2010, 11, 12, I was a little bit in trouble, and I figured out a way. I'm coming from the media industry. I was running daily newspapers, magazine, and things like that. So I'm coming from the challenge, how does media accept digitalization? How does media work with the fact that people are buying less newspapers every day, right? Readership declining, print runs declining. What do we do about it, right? So that was my starting point. So when I came to travel in 2010, 11, around that, of course, the first ideas here was we have to sell advertising, we have to make advertorials, banners, I don't know what kind of things. But then you look at it very quickly, and you go back to the textbook, which clearly says that digital markets are different than traditional markets, right? So there's different mechanics that apply, and once you accept that fact, and one of the facts is, for example, in advertising, it's a permanent consolidation. It's a permanent consolidation process. That means for a number 5, 6, or 7 in the market, it's very difficult to make a living out of advertising. So the conclusion was very early in the stage, in the process, that forget about advertising-based models. It has to be a transactional business model, right? And then there was a lot of pivoting, it's called. I mean, it's banging your head to a wall and finding another wall. It's called pivoting. Really a process in where this idea popped up sometime in 2013. So the point was, from the very beginning, I didn't feel comfortable in buying a book publisher that is losing money 5 years in a row. I can tell you, that's not a good starting point, right? Of course, we had some guess is I had a feeling that, you know, I could do this better than the previous management. But you know, you've got to prove it, right? You got to prove it, and you got to pay bills every month. That's what it's about. So it was always the intention from the very beginning that yes, we want to turn this around. Yeah. There's a legacy, there's a history. I really love the history of APA being founded in 1970 in Singapore. This is an obligation. This is an obligation for me to turn this around into something that makes it another 50 years. Right? But this transformation process is very, very difficult, very ambitious, because if you take on a business that loses money every day, your first problem to fix is not the digital transformation. Right? So we had to stop.
What were the hardest decisions when you first took it on?
There was no hard decisions. Everything was crystal clear. Right? It was quite easy. It was inefficiency at every step of the way, right? And we just eliminated the inefficiency. We eliminated middle management, right? Middle management was not bringing value to the table. Of course, you can't say that always and everywhere, but in our case, it was just the size of the business was about 25, 26 people. And you don't need so many management layers at that level. You need people that do the job, right? So we took some tough decisions, but they were crystal clear and unavoidable. Yeah.
So, I guess that's the past. Let's look towards the future and what your plans are moving forwards from here on out. What's happening?
Well, the past is part of the future in our case, because we know where we come from, right? And we have an obligation, which for the consumer is the brand trust, and that's what we're playing on, right? The value proposition that we have is connecting consumers to local businesses in Sri Lanka, in Vietnam, and making sure that these businesses create a great tailor-made trip for you, welcome you at the airport and say, hi, Belinda, going to have a wonderful 2 weeks in Vietnam now, right? So we want you to come back with something. Wow, that was something. So that's a big challenge, right? And we can't forget about the past, because the past means for us, it's not only the brands. It means a lot of data, lot of data. Just today we were sitting on, and we found always one more data channel. We hadn't thought about it before, how to integrate it in our CRM, right? We're collecting, I don't remember the number, massive numbers of data, contacts, every week, every month, from our existing business, right? From our existing business. And the challenge we have is using that data to create something new. So it's about continuing to do what we started in 2016 with Inside Guides. I think if you look at the websites, Inside and Rough Guides, you see this big difference, right? Inside is just far more advanced as an e-commerce site than Rough Guides. So obviously what we see is that the conversion rate for Inside is much higher than for Rough Guides, because Rough Guides is still a little bit a publisher site with layovers and banners and affiliate and all this kind of gimmicks.
Also brands that are competing in different spaces, though, which...
Yes, but not so much, right? Because that's one of the issues. If you look at guidebook publishing, let's be honest, all the guidebook publishers have the same audience, right? There's not much brand loyalty. Sometimes you buy a Rough Guide, sometimes you buy one of these blue guys that I don't remember the name. Right? Because you look on, is the content what I need? Is the publishing date what I need? Is it accurate, right? And then you take, what's that? The loyalty is not so much to the brand. It's more or less the same audience, right? 35, 40 years plus, and so on.
So you've mentioned data and how you use that to get insights into your audience. What kind of insights are they in terms of the destinations they like to go to or their interests? Can you expand on that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we know a lot about what people like. I hope we would be better in converting them into trips. Top destinations for us last year, our top sales was around 40% was Sri Lanka.
Oh, really?
Right. Then followed closely by Iceland. right? Iceland is a destination that is within 3 or 4 hours flight from US East Coast, right? So very good, and it's very expensive, so it's good for us. Sri Lanka is a lot of volume, but it's not so expensive. You can have a fairly reasonably priced, great experience there. But of course, we like those destinations like Iceland that difficult to go there and expensive, and we have a good local partner there. What are other destinations? I think South America this year developed very well, right? We got Chile and Argentina going good. But the biggest trend we see is good demand from US for Europe, good old Europe. Yeah, and today we signed up a partner for the UK. So we're going to sell the UK in the next couple of months, and we will help bringing back people from all over the world, right, to the UK to have a great vacation somewhere in the UK.
In terms of distribution, is the US your biggest market at the moment?
In terms of book distribution, it's equal. It's about 40% UK, 40% US, 20% rest of the world. In terms of online travel, it's more diverse, right? It's UK about 25%, 30% of our sales. US 30-35%. We are quite strong in Europe, and that is because of Rough Guides. Rough Guides has very good reputation and brand awareness in Europe. So it's also around the level of the UK, right? And then you have rest of the world, Asia. Inside Guides is quite good in Asia Pacific, in Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia. Yeah, we have clients from everywhere. We had last year a group from Myanmar that traveled with Inside Guides to Hong Kong. Right? There was a group of 15 people, so it was great booking because Hong Kong is also very expensive, as you know.
So do you have any insight, I guess, into some of those challenges you mentioned when sort of making the switch in terms of converting your current customer base into sort of the next stage of customer?
Well, that's the gentleman over there that is going to solve this problem. I can only argue from a theoretical point of view. This is what we have to do. This is what I know it can be done, right? Because the audience is very receptive to the offer. The audience is very receptive to the product and to the value proposition we make. But we need to get better every day in our process, in our conversion, in our product. And, unfortunately, there's still a bit of way to go, right? So I think that the biggest challenge from a level above is people. The biggest challenge in every business, in every digital business, is people.
In what way?
Well, it's difficult. Imagine 4 years ago, right? I acquired APA Publications. We turned it around in 2014. Within 6 months, 7 months, we made it profitable. And then we started working on the digital idea. And I was always very clear about what I want to do. And we never went left or right. It was always the same idea, right? But imagine how easy it is to attract good people, qualified people from the digital world, if you are an almost bankrupt book publisher that has some crazy idea to go digital. Right? You are not going to be able to attract big shots, right? Because, Jesus Christ, books. Right? I used to have books in my school, but this is not a business for the future, right? So our reputation was bankrupt, nearly, bad business, losing money for many years, a business that has no future, and these guys want to turn it around to something new. Well, maybe I wait a couple of years before I put in my CV. That's a reality, right? So reality is, at the very beginning, you don't get the people you really want. Right? So then you have to make compromises, and compromises means you get people that get you a certain time and will get you to a certain level, and then you have to go out to the market again and see if you can get something better, right? And that's a process that I see as really critical in the whole transformation, right? Because we are not able to attract those people. Well, we were. Now we are. Joe has proven it. Now we are. We were not able 3 years ago. We were not able 3 years ago to attract really skilled, experienced people with digital marketing and said, wow, I understand what this guy wants to do, right? Because, I mean, 4 years ago, there was a crazy idea on some mock-ups and some crazy PDFs, click-through PDFs, and stuff like that, right? Sell it to a guy that has 10 years experience. Yeah, come back, right?
Yeah, I think it's probably fair to say that's the state of the market as well, isn't it? It's getting harder and harder for even very big brands.
Yeah.
And every month there seems to be another record low in unemployment stats. And but yeah.
Were there any points in that journey where you just thought, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do this?
That's usually once in the morning, between 7 and 8.
Before you've had your coffee.
We're going to say just before we press live on the camera.
No, I think I'm very happy with where we are today. I really have to say, it's a long journey. We've made a lot of mistakes, right? It wasn't mistakes. We found ways that didn't work. Okay? I'm sure we're going to find more ways that don't work, but we always found one way that took us one step further. And I think it's all about, you have to do it again. What went wrong? Why did it go wrong? Right? What can you do better? And you try again. Right?
And you have to experiment. You've always got to have that little bit.
Yeah. It's not. I think it's not so much rocket science. It's just a process discipline that you need to have. Analyzing and being brutally honest.
Yeah.
Brutally honest, right? Because that's also a quality in people that I'm always looking for. People that don't talk bullshit if it's bullshit, we call it bullshit. It didn't work, let's be honest. And we don't Mickey Mouse around and make some nice PR. We made it wrong.
So no bullshit questions when we had it over to you in a minute.
Is there anything you wish somebody had told you before that you would like to tell everybody else here so they have the answer when they want it?
There's a lot of things I wish I had known before because, as I said, I came from the media, traditional newspaper. I was managing daily newspapers, the ones that are printed on paper. Right? And honestly, I didn't have really a clue about online. And if anybody had told me it would take so many years to do what I wanted to do, I'd probably said I'd change my plans, right? It's just, for me, the thing is, when I started this, I thought I'm going on a 3-4 years journey. And then, I'm not 25 anymore. I want to do something different. But I realized, it's not going to work, right? It's not going to work. Today, I think I'm ready for another 3-4 years. But I hope it's going to be less, right? But it just takes everything much longer than whatever you plan, whatever you think, whatever you hope, it will take longer. And that's the thing that I hoped that somebody had told me in 2014. Then I might have done something different.
Then you may have changed your mind.
Time for us to turn the mic around?
Yes, let's get some questions from the audience. Has anyone got any questions to ask? Sure. You may have to speak up a little bit.
John Malathronas. I'm actually a rough guide author. So the question is there any place for the authors in the brave new world of the rough guides? And secondly, what is the final object? Is it really to sell holidays digitally with the aid of the books? Are you going to be still selling books? I don't know.
Yes, we will always sell books, right? And the reason is quite simple and clearly understandable. The way today I look at the books is just, it's the best lead acquisition channel that we have, right? Imagine that we are out there in every major bookshop, in almost all W.H. Smith's stores all over the country, right? We're at Amazon and everywhere with our brands. Do you know any other online brand that has such a visibility and way to attract consumers with the product that they paid £10 and say, yeah, it's a good thing, right? And our challenge is to maintain the quality of the books, right? To become more efficient in the publishing, but to use this to inform the people that basically, you could sell, you could buy a holiday for $6,000, right? Not only a pound, a 10-pound book, right? So yes, we will always continue to publish the books, and I think that for me this is absolutely clear. This is the best marketing activity that we can do, right? So I always say to partners and investors in the future that the way to look at the books is it's the unique marketing channel that we have that nobody else has. Right? So even if it will cost $500,000 in 10 years, it's a marketing budget that nobody else can tap into, and it gives us a unique possibility to educate the consumers. Right? We're working very hard to get more information into the books, right? And this also happens in a few steps, right? You're not getting from here to there in one go. It doesn't work like that, right? It's steps. So we are working on getting more information about the tailor-made travel product into the books. In terms of rough guides, we are starting now, I think next week or the week after sometime. Now we're starting to have the first books with new flaps, with new covers. We're also giving away a free ebook, right? And why do we give away a free ebook to a printed guide, right? It's an added value for the people who buy the book, right? They say, oh, good, I can use the ebook on my iPad or my phone. I don't need to carry because rough guides is quite, a piece. But what do we want? We want the data. Right? We want to collect the data. We want to know that this Mr. Smith has downloaded the ebook about Sri Lanka, so maybe there's a chance he wants to travel to Sri Lanka. Right? That's what we want. And about the authors, this is a thing that, honestly, I don't have a solution yet. There are some ideas, but nothing to speak about yet. Yeah? But I am absolutely convinced that the good work, quality work, will always pay back. Right? So an author is an author, and everybody must do what they do best. An author must do the best books. Our job is to sell them best and to convert books into trips, sales.
We have a question from the audience,
Okay.
the live audience. The microphone. And then I think someone down the back has a question, so we'll go to you. So we have a question from Alexandra. She has two questions, so hopefully we can get them in. Question one, on what basis are you screening your local operators? And her second question is conscious travel sustainability part of your strategy?
Well, that's an easy question. That's one of the big brand pledges for Rough Guides sustainability, right? And why should we want to change that? That's a consumer promise. That's what consumers expect from Rough Guides, and of course we'll continue to do that, right? The first question, how do we source our local partners? That's actually a big challenge because we define our product as a marketplace, right? We see the product as a consumer connecting to a local business, and us in the middle as a platform, like a marketplace, providing the service for both. So our interest is to make sure both parties can have a safe transaction, right? The consumer and the local experts, and both parties have valid concerns, right? And our job is to make sure that those concerns are handled, and that's what we bring to the table, right? We bring in our reputation, we bring in a money-back guarantee if something fuck-ups, right? We stand for it, and that's why there's a very thorough accreditation process for local experts, right? Local experts, by the way, we call it like that. You could call it local agent, local hero, local delivery, I don't know what, right? But in fact, it's a local tour operating company that is an established business that has an accreditation, that has a license in the country according to the rules of the country, and we do a credit check on every company, right? Because we issue the money-back guarantee, we're liable to the consumer, but we insure ourselves through a credit insurance, so we run a credit check against any of our suppliers, and there are some that, that fail. We don't deal with them, or we find another way to make sure in an alternative payment way. But it happens that we don't work with people because their credit rating is really bad, right?
So we have a question at the back. If you can just speak up so we capture it in the microphone for you.
Yeah, hi.
of a rough guides reader or even insight guides, and understanding how that translates into what they might purchase. Because I can't see that a rough guides reader would necessarily buy a $6,000 holiday. I'm afraid you're wrong, they do.
Okay.
And you know why? Because they used to be rough guide readers since 10, 20 years. And they come older, right? There's a very good loyalty. And it's the same for every publishing brand, guidebook publishing brand, right? We share the same audience, more or less, right? There's very small differentiations between the audience. But those are people 35, 40 plus. And what is our value proposition in online? It's basically we're saving you time. Why? If you plan a trip to a country like Vietnam, Sri Lanka, or you name it, and Namibia, right? And you don't want to go in a holiday beach hotel for 2 weeks and have your caipirinhas every day. You have a little bit of more ambition, right? And that's the Rough Guide and Insight and Lonely Planet and DK client. They want to have a little bit more. They want to see 3, 4 places. They want to see in every place 2, 3 outstanding museums, whatever, right? Places to see. They want to have a good restaurant. Food is very important, right? So imagine you have a family, you have a kid, yeah, you're 4 people, and you have to organize a trip to Sri Lanka. You can do it. It's all there. All the information is on the internet. You'll find on TripAdvisor lots of hotels. You'll find accommodations on Booking.com. You'll find flights. You'll find internal flights. You'll find it's all there. It's just the time and the hassle it takes you to do that, right? So our value proposition is, Ian, if you travel with your family to Sri Lanka, we'll fix it for you. You have one guy that does it all for you. You have one booking confirmation, and you have one phone number to call if something goes bad. It's about saving time. Basically, we sell time.
Question, yeah, if you can just speak up.
Hi, Dave Ashmore. It's just a follow-up on kind of the tour operating side of things and how you're kind of facilitating the travel for your client. That obviously people are booking the Rough Guides portal because they know the brand and all that sort of thing, but you're then passing them on to another agency, and you want to make sure that they're, satisfactory and all that sort of thing. And how you monitor the kind of provision of what they're providing on the ground for your clients, and do you get feedback from the client when they go, and essentially what's your kind of role in the kind of after the selling stage?
Yeah, I think control is a very important word, because I said we are a marketplace, or we want to be a marketplace. To be more precise, we are a controlled marketplace, right? And that means we try to have as much control over the product as possible, right? So our agents, they write to you when you are in your trip. After a couple of days, you should receive a mail from our agent that say, hey, how are you doing? Everything fine? Anything we can do for you, right? We send out the review form after the trip. We send to every traveler a book before the trip, right? You bought a trip with us as a gesture of goodwill. Here's a rough guide, here's an inside guide. And we contact the people and we send out review forms, right? And in the last 3 years, we launched in February 2016, right? So with 3 years now, we had one problem, right? But the problem appeared to be that the girlfriend, the Chinese lady, and her American boyfriend broke up during the travel. So, of course, in the review form, it was like everything was bad, they didn't pick me up, there was no taxi and everything. And later we called her. We take action then. We asked the local tour operator what would happen, why she wasn't picked up, and so on. We checked the documents. Did she receive the documents? Were the documents correct? We call her. We set the call with her and say, hey, can we help you? What did wrong? We want to understand. And we just figured out that, what really happened is they separated during the trip, and obviously that wasn't a great experience for her. And when she came home and had this review form, I'm going to give it to them. Not much you can do about it. But really important is control. I fully agree. Control over product is the thing that is really important for us. That's why we control the partners. We send reviews. We contact the user. If something happens, afterwards we can't change it anymore. but we can be there and try to solve it, try to make the best out of it. So that's our responsibility.
Sorry, that's back on. Yeah, there we go.
Hi, Rene. First, thanks for your time tonight. My name is Zach Boyer. I've been in journalism for more than 15 years. And one of the things, certainly I can relate to the situation that you've been in your past with working with newspapers. One of the things you mentioned earlier was the independence aspect of not taking people or companies or restaurants, whoever, who will try to influence you to be in part of your listings and whatever. And I think so often you see around here, whether it be newspapers or magazines, there's so much of an element of this press trip and this was provided by this tourism board and whatever. I'm wondering why you guys have tried to go that route and kind of, I guess, be transparent about that, but also the value of that independence and what that means actually for people who trust that brand and are loyal to that brand.
Well, you know, I'm kind of an old school guy. I grew up in times when newspapers and advertising had this kind of big Chinese walls, and this is something I believe in it. Right? So it comes very much also from my own education life. I think independent journalism is something really important. I mean, I don't want to go into detail, you all know it. Independent journalism is very, very important for our societies. Full stop, right? And the only thing I can contribute to that is trying, it's a small thing, right? Whether we put in a restaurant that pays $100 or not, doesn't make a difference, right? But to me, it is important to say, that's my contribution to this problem in our society, right? Media should be independent. It is very important that media all over the world are independent. It is very important that journalists are protected, and it is very important that everybody can speak up their voice, right? So that's the only contribution I can make to that.
Super. Yeah, the far back. All right. Just see if you can speak up.
I'll shout.
Shout. Yeah.
Hi, Rick Stewart from Travel. I'm interested in your commercial strategy. So I've got a background in broadcast media and publishing, very similar to yourself. So do you see your obviously strong heritage brand? Do you see the move to experiential OTA? Do you see that as an ancillary revenue that supports your existing business, or vice versa, or even similar?
Let's speak about numbers, right? In 2017, our digital revenue was, let me recap, it was about 3-5% from our total revenue. In 2018, it was around 20-something, right? In 2019, Joe, it's going to be how much? I don't know, but it's going to be 35%, 40%, somewhere between 30 and 40%. The opportunity to grow is there, right? And the opportunity is to grow global. So there's not much of a limit, right? And as we connect travelers from, as I said, from Myanmar to Hong Kong, I mean, we can do anything, right? We've got 70 destinations. We got Mexicans traveling to Vietnam. We got Germans traveling to Namibia. We got Australians to Sri Lanka. This is a global business, right? So our strategy is very clearly that in 10 years' time, we are, or we want to be, I want to be in my retirement place there, right? But this company has to be perceived as the guys that deliver great tailor-made experiences, tailor-made holidays. Oh, and they do nice books, right? Because you will still get a present for every trip. So the books will stay. The books are very important, but in the long term, I'm pretty sure by 21, 22, it will be way more than the publishing revenue.
Super. Yeah, probably got time for one more question.
We've got two questions on the live stream, but the question from Jan. So she says, "Do you plan to go digital further beyond ebook?" And her comment is, "Seems that Lonely Planet's new CEO goes aggressive into digital with acquiring an app platform. What are your plans with apps for the future?"
I don't know the CEO from Lonely Planet. I don't know what he plans. I do not plan to continue to work on a strategy that is about monetizing content through sales or through advertising. Right? I don't believe in ebook monetization or things like that. I don't believe in advertising models. I fully agree that the situation for Lonely Planet may be much different because they are quite big and quite global, and they may have a living through such models. However, I don't think it's going to be much fun for the shareholders on such a strategy. So our take on apps is quite simple. We will develop an app when we are there, right? But that app will have to complement our core business, and our core future business is selling tailor-made trips, right? So the app will have to have functionality that really adds value in that respect. And it's an ebook. We're giving away the ebooks for free, right? So how can I build a strategy on selling ebooks if we're giving tens of thousands of ebooks away for free? We don't. I don't believe in it.
We've got just super quick. This one might be easy to answer, but Carmine asks, how do you imagine what is a classic guidebook today in 10 years? So I think they're asking what in 10 years' time, what will a classic guidebook look like? Or will it exist?
We have an author here, so I'm pretty sure it will be even better than today. It's not going to change much, right? It will still be on printed paper, whether coated or non-coated, I don't know, but it's going to be a printed guidebook. I think it will still be useful because I strongly believe that books have a value, right? But I look at the value of a book different than another publisher. For me, people are not buying the books because of the content. They're buying the books because of convenience, right? And convenience means somebody has done the job that I'm looking to be done, right? I want to have structured information. I want to have reliable information. I want to have it in a way that they can. That's it, right? And that's what people are paying for. People are paying for the convenience. So books have to become better and more convenient. We're also working on a lot of things to make books better, right? We have a great team out there of editors that have ideas how to make books better, I think. But honestly, I don't think there's going to be a big revolution in book publishing anymore.
Loads of hands. Let's go far left.
Wow.
Hi there.
Hi, Daisy from That Muse. Just on the ebooks, how successful are they? Do people automatically open them up? I assume you track this somehow, or do they just get the information from the books more classically?
I can tell you they get pretty mad if it doesn't work. No, if you buy an ebook and you pay like £5 or £10 for it, you want to have it, right? So we have to make sure that there's a good process in place that delivers the ebook, right? But when we speak about the free ebooks, which now is only for Inside, but we are doing that with Rough Guides in the next couple of weeks. We're starting that process. What we see is, yes, it's about 15 to 18% of the people. It's an estimate because we don't know exactly how many books we sell, right? But we estimate that somewhere between 15 to 18% of the people that buy the printed book download the ebook, which is kind of a lot, if you think, right? Because if you look at Inside Guides, it's very prominent in the cover. You have a double spread page with all the information how to get the free ebook. So yes, they want to do it. And we know also from surveys and from customer feedback, complaints, I bought your book because you promised the free ebook and it doesn't work, right? Give it to me, right? Of course we do that. Yeah, we do that. We have, I think we've improved a lot in customer service. And it's tech, you all know it. Tech sometimes wakes up and says, this code today doesn't work anymore, right? Because I decided so. So yes, it's very important for us to continue to give good service when something goes bad. And yes, people like the books, absolutely. It's an added value, right? People write to us that, yeah, I bought the book because you give me the free ebook, so I don't need to carry the book when I go, right? A Rough Guides or an Inside Guides, that's a £quarter pounder, right? It's a big beast.
curious to hear about how you approach appealing to a younger demographic of customer, or millennials as we call it today. I think the idea of buying a package holiday or using a travel agent feels a bit archaic to maybe a younger demographic. Do you bother attracting them, or do you feel like it's a big enough market in your 35 to 40 plus
Honestly,
market?
I'll wait till they get older. Because when they get older, their needs will change. Right? When you get older, you're very young, so you will remember me in like maybe 10, 15 years. The way you look at things in your life change. Right? You look at something, if you cross 40, 45, I've done that way ago, you start thinking, okay, fine, this is kind of half-time. What I'm going to do with the rest of my life, right? You start looking into things that time is getting important. So in a certain age, time is getting more important than when you're young. When you're young and you don't have a daddy that gives you, I don't know what, money is an issue, right? You can't do everything you want because, you know, you have to work with the budget you have. But when you get older, you make your career, you make progress, you get some money, you say, do I really want to sit here on this bloody computer on a Sunday afternoon and plan my 5 weeks or 3 weeks trip with my family to Sri Lanka? No, I want to get somebody to do the job for me, right? And that's what you do. Right? And by the way, it's not more expensive. It should be the same price or even cheaper than if you go through a travel agent or if you do it on your own. So it's about, I love the young people because statistics says they're going to get older. And it clearly says that, and I'm absolutely convinced, if you get older, everybody in a certain moment of their life, the way they look at things change. And that's what we're here to do.
There's a lady right at the very back. You may have to.
Hi.
You need to project your voice
Hi,
for the audience.
Ursula Varzi. I have a travel blog. I also do digital marketing for tour operators. And my question is, as you're relying on the local tour operators, how do you make sure that there's enough product that is available as you scale up, and also make sure that the margins for both parties make sense? Because you're obviously squeezing some of their profits to no?
No. The beauty of what we do is you have to look at the value chain in the traditional travel industry, right? You've got the travel agent. You walk into a travel agent, they say, you say, I want to travel to Sri Lanka. They say, yeah, I got this wonderful 5 catalogs, pick one and choose the trip you want, more or less, right? So they sell the product from tour operators. These tour operators, they are nothing but marketing machines, right? Packaging product that they get from whom? From the local tour operators, right? Because most of them don't have organizations in all 100, destinations, right? They have a partner, a tour operator has a partner in every destination. The big tour operators, they have sometimes their own organizations, sometimes they have more than one partner, right? But more or less, there's always a local tour operator that is preparing the product, is executing the product on behalf of a tour operator.
So I'm talking about the local tour operators. So
yeah, and we are cutting out the big and expensive guys, right? We're cutting out the travel agent. There's no need for me if I'm about saving time. Why should I go into a travel agent and talking to somebody who has no clue about what I want to do and where I want to travel? It's a waste of time. Right? It's a waste of time. So I want to talk to somebody that understands what I need and can deliver it. And that's the local guys. That's not the travel agent here. So we're cutting out these guys, and they have big margins. We're cutting out the tour operators here in the UK, in the US, and in Europe, because they are the big marketing machines that have the big margins. We're cutting out, right? So we're connecting the consumer directly to the local tour operator, which is number 3 in the row, and they have the smallest margin of all of those. And we have a very small margin too. And I can tell you, really, no, it's true. There's something left on the table. Yeah, our margin is always the same. I can say that it's a little bit less than in an Airbnb. Right? You know Airbnb, about how they work. We have reasonably less, right? We take only from one side at Airbnb. Airbnb does it on both sides. We don't do that yet, maybe something. But honestly, in theory, there is, depending on destination, there's 25 to 35% margin on the table. Right? We need, with our model, and with our local tour operators, much less. Right? And it is decision of the local tour operator at which price they sell. We don't do pricing, right? Airbnb also doesn't do the pricing for the apartments, right? They say, here, we give you the opportunity to sell your product. You set the price, you set the rules. We do the same, right? So the local guys, they know the product, they know their market, they know how much they can charge for what. They know it better than we. So we don't interfere in that.
But how do you, that all sounds good, so, but on the quality side, how do you maintain that? Because, you know, a lot of those tour operators are like 2, 3, 4-man small operations. So as you become more successful, there's obviously going to be more demand. So is it you just sign up more tour operators locally and hopefully your screening works?
I'll tell you the solution when we get there. No, I think there's two aspects to it, right? First of all, the local tour operators, you're right, they could be in the future maybe a little bit of a bottleneck.
Yep.
Right? I agree on that point. So our thinking is, but this is for us, it's still, you know, quite a bit away, like 2-3 months. No, it's still a couple of years away, let's be honest. Right? But we see a way in how we could resolve that problem in the future, if that problem would arise, right? Many authors live in destinations. There's many more qualified people, like really guides, yeah? The guides that starve for jobs, right? We're getting a lot of guides, mails from guys that says, I'm a guide in, I don't know, Tanzania, I'm doing this kind of safari, please include me in your guidebook, right? So I think there is room to solve the problem in the future, which requires automation. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a problem of automation.
You know, someone who's paying $6 grand for a trip, you know, a lot of that, you know, comes down to the people that meet on the ground. And so it's about, you know, the storytelling and, you know, the experiences. And no amount of, you know, operation will make that better. And you need people who know their stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And we're not going away from that. But if we want to open up the scope of local tour operators to, you know, be it guides, be it authors living in a destination, you know, there's possibilities, right? If we want to do that, we'll have to think how to support them from a technical point of view. How can I run, I'm a guide in Tanzania. How can I expand the scope of my business, like being the greatest trip planner in Southeast Africa, right? So we have to provide, in that case, a solution that automates the whole business for you, right? Because what is a guide bringing to the table in such a situation? It's the local knowledge. You know, if you do this, you start here, you can't go there because of, I don't know, right? So they know how to craft a trip. And they know where to go and where not to go. And for this, we need to provide tools in the future. It's about automation, but for the people on the ground.
One
Final question.
Hi there.
And you've got
So
it.
in relation to that specific question, from a consumer perspective, how do you plan or how do you currently differentiate yourself from the ever-emerging specialist travel companies in these destinations that you sell, in the tailor-made perspective?
Like which ones?
So I work for a specialist tour operator. We specialise in luxury safaris to Africa, and our USP is all our sales guys are either born or raised in Africa or are guides. So in that perspective.
Yeah, you're a specialist tour operator.
Yeah. So how would you differentiate from all of these other emerging?
You have your own operations in Africa?
No, they're suppliers.
Ah, you have a supplier there. So we might use the same supplier that you.
Right, yeah, no, I understand, but then you're not selling in terms of knowledge and to these consumers who are very affluent and very who are acquiring the knowledge of wildlife or the country itself. How do you sell that? How do you differentiate yourself? from these other companies that are doing so?
Well, I think many of those companies are still doing a great job.
Yeah.
So, and we are not yet a threat to them.
That's not my question.
If we are honest, but the way we look at it is a bit different, right? We look at it in a way that this is a platform that will enable you to talk directly to the guys on the ground. So in that case, our promise to the consumer is we let you talk to the guy that these guys also work with, right? Because at the end, we'll have the same suppliers. There's a bunch of local guys out there in every country, in every destination. There's a group of local experts, 5, 10, 50, whatever.
Why would you need to talk to them if you're planning my trip?
Sorry?
Why would I, as a consumer, need to talk to these
Because
guys
you,
if you're planning my trip?
because you want to talk to somebody that knows the place. And if I go to a travel office, I don't want to talk to somebody that doesn't know the place. For me, it's a value proposition that I think that maybe some tour operators, specialist tour operators, will also come to. That I can speak to somebody that I say, this guy is living in Nairobi, so he's not going to bullshit me.
But what's the difference between those who have lived in Nairobi and have guided in Nairobi?
Yet they live now. They know whether this restaurant is still a good one or not. If you have lived in Nairobi 3 years ago, right, you have some knowledge, you have some good insight, but I want to have it up to date. That's the value proposition.
What's to say that these specialist companies aren't up to date?
No.
They have educational trips.
They do, I know. I didn't say there's doing something bad, and we will have a hard time to compete with these, right? We do. Even Joe went on a trip to Sri Lanka before he worked here, with a specialist tour operator. A specialist tour operator may still have a good chance, right? I don't say we're going to conquer the world, don't get me wrong, right?
Just asking from a consumer perspective, how I would choose.
Yeah, from a consumer perspective.
To me, they're all quite alike in that perspective.
Yeah, from a consumer perspective, our challenge is to make it better and better and clearer to you that what we promise is that you are connected to the guy in the destination. That's what we have to work on, and we have to become much better on that, right? If you look at rough guides today, let's be honest, it's a bit of a dry experience, right? If you look at inside guides, you see already, oh, they're real people, and I can promise you, all the people, they're alive, right? There are no fakes, no duplicates or anything. This is something we really value. So our challenge is really bringing up this value proposition of having the local guy living in this destination, and you say, that's something I want, or something that I don't want. Some people don't care about it. They say, I want to have somebody next to my door. I can bang their heads if something goes fast, right? So it's different consumers, different needs.
Super. Thank you very much. It's been very insightful and very entertaining.
Good.
I hope that everyone will stay around for a little bit, for a bit of networking. We've got some food coming out, there's some more drinks, and we'd like everyone to leave with a guidebook of the next destination they're planning on travelling to. In terms of a final word, now that I have a chapter co-lead, and I'm not on my own anymore, I'll hand the mic over to Belinda to sign off, so she didn't know I was going to do that. There you go.
Thanks very much for coming.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much, Rene.